And that third area where systems need to be set in place is communication. And communication is so important to any business. I can't think of a single example where somebody can work without needing to be a good communicator, right? So the first side of business communication is the client-customer communication. These communication systems should be trackable, transparent, and repeatable.
Hey there, you're listening to the Priority Pursuit Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping small business owners and leaders define, maintain, and pursue both their personal and business priorities so they can build lives and businesses they love. I'm your host, Victoria Rayburn, and today I am so excited to say that I am being joined once again by our Director of Operations, Mary Adkins, to discuss something that prevents many small businesses from reaching their goals and finding growth. Systems. If you have listened to any of our past episodes of Priority Pursuit or perused our website or other resources, you know that Treefrog Marketing exists to help small businesses get to the next level. And while much of business growth is a result of having an effective marketing strategy, if you want to be able to grow and scale your business, manage your resources wisely, and not spend every minute of every day working, you have to have systems, protocols, and processes in place. With this in mind, I am so excited to have Mary, our systems and protocols guru, back on the show to break down the 4 systems that every small business needs to have in place to increase efficiency and growth. Mary, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me back. Apparently, I didn't do too terribly on the first one.
Oh my goodness. I'm really excited about this conversation because systems, protocols, like this is really your zone of genius. And I just can't wait for everyone to hear all the wisdom you're going to share today. But before we dive in, Mary, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us how you serve small businesses in your role at Treefrog?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi all, my name is Mary Adkins. I am the Director of Operations at Treefrog. I have been helping Treefrog serve small businesses for more than 9 years now, and I'm essentially the person who sets up many of the systems within our agency. I keep all of the projects organized and running smoothly from inception through implementation, both internally and externally. And much of this organization is a direct result of the systems and protocols that we have set in place.
Yes. So basically, you keep us all in line and make sure that nothing gets missed so that we can serve our clients and our audience, like our podcast listeners well. Guys, Mary oversees and makes sure that every episode is developed on time so we can get everything taken care of. So yes, y'all, long story short, we are very thankful for Mary. Now, Mary, I have several questions for you today because this topic is so important. But first, as you know, when we talk to small businesses who want to get to the next level, they're typically already offering a great product or service and they're serving their customers well. However, they are usually frustrated because their businesses have plateaued. No matter what they do, they just kind of keep throwing things at the wall and nothing seems to stick or help them get where they want to go. And more often than not, we know that this is because they don't have an effective marketing strategy or effective systems. And as our listeners know, we spend a lot of time on the show talking about marketing and marketing specific tactics and systems. But just so there isn't any confusion, Mary, what do we mean by systems and why is it important for small businesses to take the time to actually develop these processes?
Yeah, of course. Like you said, a lot of the clients who come to us are frustrated and because of all of those reasons you just mentioned. And one of my favorite things is to help them alleviate those frustrations. So by doing that, we integrate systems. And when we talk about systems, we're talking about set protocols and tools that are used in repeatable, consistent ways in order to achieve a goal. Systems can be built for each element of your business process, including the ways you serve your clients, marketing, and really any other task that must be completed in order to run your business. It is so important for businesses to develop these systems because without them, you're wasting time and resources, you're unable to grow and scale, and your customer or client experience will suffer. And if you're anything like me, you'll get stress dreams about all the things that you think you need to be doing, but aren't sure where they're at process wise.
Uh, First of all, work stress dreams are terrible. Thanks to your organization, I don't have many of those these days. But anyway, let's get into systems. Okay, so I know that you're going to break down the 4 main systems every small business should have in place. But before we do that, what are the signs that small businesses need to develop systems around a specific task? And I ask this simply because I know that small business owners and leaders are often really busy and focused on putting out fires and doing like taking care of other integral parts of their businesses that they don't even realize that a system needs to be created, or that if they had a system in place, their lives and jobs would be so much easier. So yes, what are the signs that a small business owner or leader should create a system?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important to say that these systems are being created not as just another to do. These systems are here to stop those fires from starting in the first place. And they're there to solve problems. They're not just kind of going through the motions. There's actually a good effect to those. And there's a lot of different signs that a business could or should develop or even improve upon already existing systems. And some indication questions I might ask are, if I asked you where your logo files are kept, would you know where those are and would you be able to send them to me? If I asked to see your social media content for the next month, would you be able to show that to me? What is your business mission? How much PTO does your front desk person have left in this cycle? When was the last time you spoke to your oldest client or customer? What days do you pay your invoices? What is the status of the latest shipment of supplies that you ordered? And if you asked an employee, would they have the resources they need outside of having to go ask other members of your team hundreds of questions in order to complete the tasks on their schedule? If you answered no or I don't know to any of those questions, you need to set up or revisit your current systems. And even if it's not your job specifically, you should still definitely know who or where you can go in order to find those answers.
Yes. Okay. So those are all great questions, great indicators. And like, just, I guess, to give a brief summary. So basically, like if there's anything within your business that you or a member of your team either don't know or can't easily find, that's a sign that you need to develop a system. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. As a general rule of thumb, you want every aspect of your business to be so streamlined and accessible that you can hand any task or project over to another member of your team at any given time. And if there are any tasks that you must complete on a regular basis, such as like submitting payroll or fulfilling, a recurring client order, it's important to have a system developed so that you aren't starting from scratch and can complete that task as efficiently as possible every single time.
Love. Okay, so Mary, as our systems expert, what are the 4 systems that every small business must have in place to increase efficiency and growth? If there are specific tools you recommend, I am sure that our listeners would love to hear about those.
Yeah. Like you said, there's the 4 main systems. And the first one is accounting, which in my mind includes invoicing and payroll. For accounting in general, if you're not keeping track of your money, you're losing it. It's as simple as that. And that applies as much to our personal lives as well as our business lives. Just like you should keep track of how many streaming subscriptions you have, you should know your business expenses, like how many recurring order subscriptions you have on Amazon Business, and are they recurring at a rate in which you actually need those supplies? Or one that we just encountered the other day is how many gigabytes of cloud storage are you being charged for? And are you using more or less of it than you need? Setting systems and checks for your business accounting can track all of those expenses and prevent wasting money on unused ones, like in our personal lives, a gym membership might be.
Mm-hmm.
While there will always be internal accounting, like I just mentioned, we also highly recommend working with an accountant. This will help relieve the duties from the business owner, and you can trust that those duties are going to be done correctly. For proposals and invoicing, there are a lot of different softwares that are available. We use a combination at Treefrog of HoneyBook and QuickBooks, But really, you can pick any option that works within your requirements as long as you have the systems in place to use them effectively. It's never a good look to be invoicing a customer for work that happened 6 months ago. The next part of accounting, even if you're a solopreneur, is payroll. As the owner of a business, again, it's definitely the best practice to outsource your payroll because it can be complicated and time consuming. And if it's not done correctly, it can have drastic and very expensive ramifications. We use a local payroll company because we love supporting local business and we can get personal support as opposed to a call center. And they work with our accountant, but that's what works for us, right? Payroll also ties into HR, and that is actually the next main area where systems should be developed.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Let's talk about HR because I think it's safe to say that this is a topic that stresses a lot of small business owners and leaders out. I mean, most people do not go into business for themselves because they are super passionate about HR. So, yes, Mary, please tell us all the things.
I could not agree more. Some questions that I think that you should ask yourself when assessing the systems for your HR is, what is each step of your hiring process? Once someone is hired, what training do they go through and what documents and agreements do they need to sign? What benefits does an employee get and when do they get access to them? How does someone request PTO and how is it approved? What happens in the event of an employee disagreement and what needs to happen step by step if an employee quits or needs to be let go? For example, our team members have access to a form for requesting PTO in our project management software. And then there's an automation that is sent to me to review and approve that PTO. And then there are recorded steps in our protocols for moving and reassigning that work that was scheduled to happen during that time that they've requested to be out of office. And I know that this can sound a little overwhelming. And again, that's why we suggest outsourcing that HR. But if you're a solopreneur, this still applies to you, even when it comes to hiring freelancers or virtual assistants to help you with your workload.
Absolutely. Yes, I think it is easy for solopreneurs to think like, oh, this does not apply to me. But guys, your lives will be so much easier if, from the get-go, you are collecting everything you need to do 1099s at the end of the year and everything is just nice and clear. But yes, great point, Mary. So anyway, I think it's safe to say that the idea of handling HR causes a lot of small business owners and leaders stress. But once you have processes in place that your team understands, HR actually can be pretty simple. Would you agree? And I mean, I ask because you handle a big portion of our HR at Treefrog. So yeah, I need your opinion more than mine there.
Yeah, somehow my role just grew into also handling a lot of those HR responsibilities. But because I am so system-minded, I can attest that with these systems, HR doesn't actually have to be that stressful. You just need to have those systems in place for those clear guidelines, those step-by-step instructions, so that your entire team understands each situation that could possibly happen.
Yes. That is just like the epitome of, being a small business. When somebody has a gift for something, they get put in charge of that thing. So very glad you're in charge of most of our HR. But anyway, I'm sure a lot of listeners are relieved to hear that it doesn't actually have to be that stressful. So moving on from HR though, what is the next system small businesses need to have in place?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one was accounting. The second one was HR. And then that third area where systems need to be set in place is communication. And communication is so, so, so important to any business. I can't think of a single example where somebody can work without needing to be a good communicator, right? So the first side of business communication is the client-customer communication, right? The external communication. These communication systems should be trackable, transparent, and repeatable.
What would you do with an extra 45 minutes every workday? That would save you 16 hours a month or roughly 8 days a year. And over the course of your career, we're talking about over 1 year of your life saved. All that time back. Well, many independent business owners spend far more than 45 minutes a day on administrative tasks. And with HoneyBook, you can get that time back and then some. HoneyBook lets you easily manage projects, contracts, invoices, scheduling, and client communication, saving you time and allowing you to better serve your clients. For a discount on your first year of HoneyBook, visit honeybook.com and subscribe with the code PriorityPursuit. 45 minutes a day adds up quickly. Use it to focus on what matters most.
As a small business owner, you probably have a seemingly endless to-do list, but I can almost promise that there are things on your list that can be outsourced, like grocery shopping. I mean, as a wedding photographer, the last thing I wanted to do after shooting a wedding on a Saturday was to spend my Sunday in a grocery store. So I am forever thankful that a friend told me about Instacart. Instacart is a grocery delivery service. Basically, you use the Instacart app to make your shopping list. Then a personal shopper goes to your preferred store, selects your groceries for you, and delivers them to you, typically all within just a few hours. You can also schedule your delivery time. Personally, I will sing Instacart's praises forever because 1, it has saved me countless hours, and 2, Instacart employs local personal shoppers, meaning with every Instacart purchase, you are putting money directly back into your local economy. While Instacart does charge a delivery fee, when you upgrade to Instacart Plus for just $99 a year, you'll receive free unlimited deliveries for all orders over $35. Considering the time and frustration you'll save, that's $99 well spent. If you'd like to avoid going to the grocery store and save $20 on your first order from Instacart of $35 or more, visit treefrogmarketing.com/Instacart. Again, if you'd like $20 off your first Instacart order of $35 or more, visit treefrogmarketing.com/Instacart.
At Treefrog, for example, we currently use Basecamp to communicate with all of our clients. There's a project template that we created that automatically includes certain files and documents and applies to each new client that we onboard. And then new clients get an onboarding email with the information that they need and about what Basecamp is and how to use it. And then once they've been onboarded to Basecamp, there is a templated series of our other emails that follow up, detailing what to expect next, requesting information that we need in order to move forward with their projects. And really just setting the system up, setting that relationship up to be successful. And then within Basecamp, we really like it because discussions are broken down and labeled by topics that are easily searchable and can be searched and viewed by every single team member. So like we were talking about earlier, being able to step into a system and have it all laid out clearly. That's what this software enables us to do. And then also, files within that project for each client can be labeled. So, somebody can upload a photo and then actually tell you what's in that photo, because sometimes it's not always as clear as you wish it was. Those images can be discussed, and then they can also actually be assigned to certain people as well within that system. So with all that being said, when you're thinking about your onboarding systems, some questions to ask yourself should include, if you have clients, how often do they hear from you once a contract is signed? What information do they need from you? And what information do you need from them in order to move forward successfully with their projects? And where will all of that information be stored, and who is able to access that information? If you have customers as opposed to clients, then some questions you can ask yourself in order to develop these systems or identify where they should be developed are, do they know who their sales rep is? How are they input and saved into your point of sale system? How many shipping and delivery notifications are sent when they place an order? How do you follow up, ask for a review, remind them when it's time to reorder? Really any kind of external client communication. Basically, when it comes to client communication, how much you communicate with each client or customer is very similar. As a result, if you take the time to create those templated emails, those questionnaires, those workflows, you can save yourself and your team so much time. It really builds up, especially if you use a program like Basecamp or HoneyBook or another CRM that allows you to set those automations and those workflows.
Yes. And Mary, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I don't think a lot of people necessarily realize, when you get a new client, just so much of that communication, it's going to look super similar. When we add a new client at Treefrog, there are things that we need every time. It's if they have a current website, what's the login information to that? We can just ask in one foul swoop. Or, when I was a wedding photographer, I have the same wedding questions. I mean, every wedding was a little bit different, but I need to know things like where it is and what your phone number is and what your email address is. And do you want to do a first look or not? And all of that can be put into a template or a questionnaire and just make your life so much easier. But anyway, I am also really glad that you brought up tools. So Mary, in case someone is listening and they're thinking that to save money, like they'll do kind of half of what you said, like they'll write email templates in a Google Doc and then they'll just copy and paste them or do something similar without the assistance of a client management system. What would you tell them?
Yeah. First off, I get it. I have been guilty of that. I have done that in the past, and switching from that kind of non-existent system to something that is written out and automated and efficient it's like a breath of fresh air. Just that weight and that stress and that thought process that you have to go through every time is just gone, because you just know that it's going to be done and it's going to be done correctly. And I would certainly tell small business owners and leaders that investing in a reliable CRM is invaluable. With the automation capabilities and just having all of that information and correspondence in one place, you're saving yourself, again, just so much time. And if you are writing your templates, like you were saying, in those Google Docs, and you're copying and pasting them as needed, that is, like I said, an okay place to start. But when you onboard new clients with that CRM, you can save, again, time. It doesn't take long for it to pay for itself, because I know that what we talk about, all of these tools, is people are probably thinking, oh, they cost money. But if you think about the time you're saving, the stress you're saving, and then the better client experience that you're providing, the CRM, that return on investment happens so fast. And like I said, we use Basecamp for our client communication, and we use Honeybook for other aspects of the agency, including this podcast. And so we'll be sure to include those links to both of those things in our show notes, including a link that will allow you to save 35% on your first year of Honeybook.
Yes, you can't beat that. And y'all, like, again, please invest in a CRM. I use Honeybook to manage all podcast guest communication, and I truly just so appreciate that I can get our guests everything they need in just a few clicks, thanks to templates and automation. Like, I mean, oh my goodness, I cannot imagine at this point going through and emailing each and every one of them and then sorting through all the files that they send me. But yeah, thanks to Honeybook, I can send a couple emails really fast, and then they upload the information they need right to their Honeybook profile, and then the rest of our team can pull the information. Like, so thankful for that. Saves everybody so much time. Okay, but Mary, you mentioned that client communication was the first part of this system, this element that we're going to talk about today. What is the other part?
Yes, thank you. So the other part is team or internal communication. And there's a lot of different options for this. And I think that there's a lot of people who are either on like Team Google or Team Microsoft or Team Slack or whatever it might be. But it doesn't really matter in the end. It's important to pick one that works well for your business, and that once you have picked that you set the rules for it. So at Treefrog, we use the Google Suite, which includes Google Chat, Google Spaces, Google Meet, Google Calendar, and of course, Gmail. Within our agency, we use chat for quick, timely messages and ongoing discussions with multiple team members. Just something that needs to be taken care of right away, something that can be dealt with fairly quickly and isn't too involved in a project. We use Spaces for more specific departments and allow us to divide our conversations by topic so that only the people who need to be part of those conversations are included, and we're not spamming people that are not relevant to that conversation. We use emails for less time-sensitive information and sharing. And then Meet is for face-to-face discussions that are as structured as possible, so we don't waste time and get off track, though that's a little unavoidable, but we do our best to keep to a structured meeting. We have a list of things that we go through every morning when I get to see your and everybody else's beautiful faces. We also get to use ClickUp for project-specific internal communications as part of our operations project management systems, which is the next area of business systems that we'll talk about today.
Why am I not surprised, though, that you saved your favorite area for developing systems for last? So from here, Mary, I'm just going to be quiet and let you go because I know this is something that you are super passionate about and gifted and experienced in. So yeah, let's go. Systems Queen, tell us all about project management.
It is my favorite one. I like to think of it like I get to sit down and put together a complicated 3D, constantly changing puzzle every day. And it's my brain just is happy when I'm doing it. So project and operation management systems. If you are a service provider, you need to track all of your current and future projects and all of the elements that you need in order to complete those projects, like staff hours, deliverables, timelines, key stakeholders, files, and so much more. There's so many moving parts, but some questions that you might ask yourself to get the system building started are, how much staff availability do you have? What is each step of a project that you're doing? And how long does it take to complete? And who is accountable for each step? What tools are you going to need in order to successfully complete that project? And what information do you need up front in order to get started? There's so much more that goes into it, but asking these questions and knowing the answers before you start can prevent you from dropping the ball or the cardinal sin on this podcast, over promising and under delivering.
Love that.
Again, at Treefrog, we use ClickUp to keep track of almost every step, or not almost, actually every step of our progress. So that's if you have services. If you are more of if you sell physical products, operations management is equally important. You just need to keep track of some different things, like how many orders you anticipate getting and maintaining the supply levels and workforce in order to fulfill those orders. And if you are above, at, or below those anticipated order levels, or how long it actually takes you to manufacture and ship something. These systems that you have in place should make it possible for you to have this information and to make adjustments accordingly. So without having to make uninformed decisions or having to scramble to do so, or to, try to be putting out fires all the time. Basically, regardless of what products or services your small business provides, you need to develop a step-by-step system for fulfilling purchases. And this includes everything from what happens when you receive a new inquiry to how you're going to follow up with a client or customer after you've delivered your product or service. And to be as efficient as possible, you want to use a project management software that helps ensure that every step is completed.
Okay, once again, I am so glad that you're getting into tools and softwares because I think that implementation is often where small businesses get held up in creating systems. I mean, many know that they need systems and they have intentions of getting them in place, like when they have a moment to breathe, but building them proves to be very daunting. And because most of us do not love systems as much as you do, it's usually one of the first things that goes to the back burner. So with this in mind, how can small businesses go about creating the systems that you've shared with us today? Like, how can they practically actually do it and not just open up a Google Doc and panic?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a great question. And again, we have all been there for sure. So I feel your pain, and we'll go through it together. How about that? First of all, documentation is so important. Protocols and SOPs. And as a side note, for anyone wondering what an SOP is, it stands, and I didn't know this at first when actually Victoria came on, we just called them protocols, but an SOP is a standard of protocol, right? So it's just another fancy acronym for you to remember, but it's all the same thing. It's those steps and those, just everything that you need to do in order to complete a system. And you need to develop those for all products and services. Every step, every task of your business should have recorded protocols or SOPs. For example, if you're dealing with heavy machinery, this might include a technical writer and a written thick manual along with some safety briefing videos. Or if you're on a computer, it could mean documentation in a shared cloud space, preferably with lots of screenshots and or screen recordings. At Treefrog, we use a combination of Tango and Loom. Tango allows it follows your cursor. as you walk step by step through a process, and then it automatically generates those screenshots and those descriptions so that you can edit and add details at the end. And that's just a free Google browser add-on. And so that's something that makes that entire process a lot easier. And then Loom is a screen recorder that captures your screen and your voice as you talk through a process and provides a shareable link at the end of your recording so that you can then record that and share that with your team. And you can even use both of them. So you're getting the people who learn through written word, who learn through visuals, and who learn through auditory, because the more senses you use, the more likely you are to actually remember something. So using free, easy softwares like this can make that documentation so much easier. We've also found it really helpful to map out all of your business processes in a visual way, like a mind map. This way you're able to really easily identify those gaps or bottlenecks in your system. And again, there are a ton of free options online for mind map development, but at Treefrog, we use functionality within our project management system, ClickUp, which is especially useful when interconnecting all of those processes. As you could probably deduce from everything we've talked about so far, a lot of the systems that you're setting in place are highly interconnected. And knowing that whole system from inception through implementation, as well as who is accountable for each stage of that process, is so vital in keeping things running smoothly and preventing anything from falling through the cracks. And in addition to developing SOPs and protocols, one of the best things that you can do to create systems and increase efficiency is to get the right tools, like we've been talking about. Find that software that fits your needs for each step of the process. If you're just starting out, there are a lot of programs that offer free versions. For the paid ones, it's also just so easy to justify your ROI when you think of the time, resources, and consistent efficiencies that you're gaining. Types of tools that you need in order to create systems can include, but are not necessarily limited to, like we've talked about, a CRM, a project management system, a client communication system, an internal communication system, a team communication system, file storage and organization. Do you know where your files are? Payroll, accounting, and invoicing. And if you need help determining what tools work best for you, please contact us through the Treefrog website to find more about. We have these fractional CMO services, and within the scope of the service, that includes us evaluating your current tools and making recommendations on how to use them more effectively, or if they're not working for you at all, what tools would better fit your needs. And I get to be involved in that, and that's it's actually very fun for me to get to do. I get to put my hands in the cookie jar, but basically,
we're so glad you find it fun.
I do. It's fun, but basically, to create systems that you need to document SOPs and protocols so that every member of your team has the information that they need in order to complete tasks as efficiently and accurately as possible. If you notice, that's the theme, is efficiency and accuracy. If you want to use a project management system like ClickUp to help you keep track of every piece of a project, and you can identify and invest in the right tools that will make these processes even more streamlined.
Thank you, Mary, for making this process a little less scary. Now, designing and developing systems is clearly your gift if people have not gathered that already. I mean, you are responsible for all of our systems at Treefrog, and you even design systems, like you said, for our fractional CMO clients. So if someone listening knows that they need to develop systems, but developing processes just is not something that brings them a lot of joy, what advice or words of encouragement would you give them?
Yeah, like we said, it brings me a lot of joy. It's like going back to that puzzle analogy. It's like fitting that last piece in. I get so much personal satisfaction when I can see that a process has enabled a project to run smoothly. It's just so nice and so satisfying. And I totally get that it's not the case for everyone. Donald Miller, the creator of StoryBrand, talks about the three people who you need in order to run a business. There's the creative/visionary, there's the entrepreneur, and there's the operator. The creative comes up with the ideas, the entrepreneur figures out how to monetize them, and the operator makes them come to fruition. Because the mindsets of each of these roles is so different, it's really rare that one person can successfully fulfill more than one role. So first off, I think it's really important to note that just because developing processes, it doesn't bring you joy like it brings me joy, or it just isn't your strong suit, that does not mean that you're failing. It just means that you're meant to fulfill one of the other roles. And the most effective way to run your business smoothly would be to hire that operator, that person who thinks in systems and processes just naturally. And for the record, you can absolutely hire an operator, often referred to as an integrator, on a part-time basis to start out. If you're not at the point where you can even hire that person at a part-time level, or even if you are, I do also highly recommend utilizing AI and automation to supplement your systems. While AI can't completely replace personal touches in customer service, it can do so much, even if it's just taking care of those low complexity, repeatable tasks that are unnecessarily taking up your time. There are so many possibilities when it comes to both AI and automation. And what works best for you will depend on your business and what you need. And that's, part of why I've been asking those questions, because through asking yourself those questions, you're going to identify your needs, and that's the way to go about it. So at Treefrog, we use a combination of softwares, including Zapier, ManyChat, ClickUp, of course, and even ChatGPT sometimes for automation. AI and automation capabilities are constantly expanding. So again, it's important to reevaluate your set systems to see how new functionality can make your processes even more simple and even more efficient.
Yes, I love that answer. Y'all, it is a tremendous asset to have an operator on your team. But if you can't afford to hire one right now, technology can take you pretty far. Okay, Mary, last question. And I'm not trying to end on a downer for the record, but just so this is clear for our listeners, what does a lack of systems cost small businesses? And also, how can taking the time to design systems ultimately benefit small businesses?
Yeah, like you said, we're not trying to end on a downer. It's just that these systems and processes, they're not just another to-do to add to your list. They actually have long-lasting effects to the growth of your business. A lack of set systems and protocols can affect almost every aspect of your business. A lack of repeatable, consistent systems will at best waste time and resources and prevent your business from scaling. And at worst, it can lead to high turnover, burnout, stress, long hours, lost revenue, dissatisfied customers and clients. I know it sounds a little dramatic, but it's so true. Taking the time up front to set these systems up that work for your business will lead to just an absolutely exponential return on your investment. While that upfront time to set up these systems might seem daunting, it's just so completely worth it. And there are ways to break it up into more manageable pieces, more easily nibble pieces, if you would. For example, it's likely that you already have some systems in place now, but maybe they're all in your head. I would recommend make a list of all the systems you currently have. And then next time you run through that system, record them. Use those SOPs, use those free programs like Tango or Loom. And then once you've got all of those done, make a list of all of the systems that you would like to have, map them out, rank them by complexity and priority, and then actually set a time to get them done. I think it's important to add as a side note here that while systems should be set, they should also be flexible. If a step within a system isn't working, or new tools become available, or technology just continues to expand in its capabilities, please go ahead and update those systems. Just make sure to record and communicate any and all updates that you make. I feel like I could talk about this for hours, but this is a good...
I mean, I know you could.
I could, and I have. But I think this is a good introduction to what goes into these systems that every business needs. And if anyone listening to this podcast has any questions about systems for businesses, again, please contact us about our fractional CMO services. System analysis is just a small part of all of the benefits of hiring Treefrog to be your fractional CMO.
Yes, Mary, thank you so much for coming back on the show and breaking down the 4 systems that every small business must have in place to increase efficiency and growth. We are so ever loving blessed to have you on our team, and so are our fractional CMO clients. For those of you listening, if you have further questions for Mary, please don't hesitate to reach out through our website at treefrogmarketing.com. Mary will most definitely be back on the show to discuss systems, automations, and so much more in the near future. So if you have any questions for her, please don't hesitate to send them our way. Chances are, if your small business could benefit from that question, so could countless other small businesses. So yes, send us questions. Also, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Priority Pursuit. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you will take a moment to share it with your small business friends, to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and that you will join us next week for even more marketing, boundary, and priority-driven tactics you can use to build a life and business that you love.